welcome to Label Sessions Presents, the podcast where we talk to the most interesting people about all the things you need to know over the next 100 days, from innovation to business design, tech, and culture. I'm Fuzlin, Esau, all the way down here in Cape Town, and today we're joined by three brand new additions to the Label Sessions expert roster, as well as Josh Nixon from the Label Sessions team. Hello and welcome, everyone.
Hello.
Hey.
So hello and welcome to Mike Harding, the strategist who fixes what others won't touch. Mike thrives where the brief is broken, the challenge is unclear, and the stakes are high. He reframes, rebuilds, and brings first principles thinking to problems most people run from. Welcome, Mike.
Hello.
And hello and welcome to Alex Caveny, the product whisperer for chaotic growth. Alex cuts through early stage noise with structured insight, sharp product instincts, and the empathy to guide teams under pressure from first audit all the way through to next breakthrough. Welcome, Alex.
Thanks. Thanks for the great intro.
And then also a big welcome to Sakina Ramzanali, the go-to-market strategist who turns chaos into clarity. Sakina transforms scaling headaches into structured growth, blending 20 years of marketing, sales, and coaching expertise to take startups all the way to unicorns. Welcome, Sakina.
Thank you.
Awesome. So it's been, as usual, it's been a busy week in the world of innovation. And one of the topics that has popped up is the idea of leading remote teams. So is leading a remote team actually hard, or are a lot of leaders of remote teams just poor at leadership? So Fast Company published a piece just this week that argues that when remote workplaces fail, it's less about location and more about leadership. When leaders want control, create fear, and a lack of trust, things seem to go wrong very quickly. So if you're leading a remote team, how can you generate trust and build productive teams? Or is there something about remote work that just doesn't work in some settings? Sakina, I think this is maybe a good one for you in terms of, is it leadership or is it remote?
Yeah, thank you. I've been leading remote teams since 2013, back when I was at Criteo, with people spread from LATAM to Japan and lots and lots of people in North America, Europe. And honestly, leading a remote team is hard. But not because remote work itself doesn't work. It's usually because building relationships virtually takes real effort. And when leaders try to rely on control or fear instead of trust, things do go wrong fast. So if I were leading a remote team over the next 100 days, I'd start by making outcomes crystal clear. What success looks like, who owns what, and how everyone's working, whatever they're doing and whatever they're working on ties back to the bigger business goals. So when you're remote, it's easy to feel like you're working in a silo, right? So connecting those dots is key. And then I would also put the right rhythms and tools in place, things like Slack and Notion for working together, and regular check-ins and clear ways to communicate. So no one feels stuck, waiting, or micromanaged. I also normally focus on trust and connection, giving people the space to do the great work, being open and transparent, recognizing wins, building small rituals like virtual coffee chats. I never used to believe in virtual coffee chats, but they've done really, really well, especially during COVID, right? And as well as post-COVID, occasional meetups, so people feel like a team, not just a collection of Zoom faces. So yeah, for sure, some roles in person is important, for example, if it's a heavy compliance environments, which one of my jobs required. But most of the time, remote success comes from the leadership, the right type of leadership, not the location.
Unfair, because Sakina's just about nailed it. The thing I find about leadership, a lot of people talk about leadership as something you can do to people. They get confused between management and leadership. And my old adage is, if you look behind you, you can tell whether you're a leader or not. If there's no one there, you're not leading. And if there's lots of people there and they look very angry, you should run. It's gone really badly wrong at that stage. But I've seen a lot of people, and I've been in the situation many times myself, where you get frustrated at the lack of progress or something that needs to be done quickly, and you say, okay, I'm not really going to do leadership on this one. I'm going to call this a fire drill and tell you what to do. And guess what happens? Nothing, or nothing good, or really bad things. And it's a thing I've seen a lot of people do. Consultants aren't generally bred to be great leaders. We see them sometimes, and when we do, you don't let them go because you're going to take them all the way through the organization. And sometimes, if you're really good, you better train people up behind you and create the capacity. But you need to always be creating leaders behind you, giving them the slack so that they can do things that might be wrong, that might not land properly, but where they can learn what it takes to get people to follow them and challenge them, to create an environment where you can do the right thing and you can do it efficiently and effectively with people who may not have known how to do it before. But remembering there's a point where you're exasperated and the fire alarm's going and you need to do something, but just do this, do that. Oh, shut up, just get out of there now. Sounds British, doesn't it? We have some leaders somewhere. But there's a point where you forget that leading is more effort than managing. But it has much better results because you can walk away from grumpy people who are being led and they'll just lead themselves. And the leverage from that is huge. But it is starting from the notion is not your job to tell people what to do. It's to help them find the right thing and help them do it.
I love that distinction between leadership and management. And I think there are a lot of leaders who are stuck in sort of the management role and thinking they're doing leadership.
Yeah, I think despite, COVID obviously made a lot of people go work remote. And I think collaboration tools really didn't catch up. There still aren't great collaboration tools. We're stuck doing kind of similar things. I think a big part of what your responsibility as a leader or manager or team lead is to create that structure. Like ideally, there'd be collaboration tools that help you create that structure, but I feel like you're kind of stuck making it yourself. And that's the difference in my mind between a good remote team and a bad remote team. A bad remote team just throws everyone on Zoom and kind of hopes for the best. But a good remote team, the leaders are creating that structure, and it doesn't have to be big 12-step approval processes or anything. But if you're seeing your people less, they need to know how to get their work done and what to do if they can't just ping you and check in easily. I think the one area that is really difficult for remote teams, and I generally don't recommend with companies I work with, is if you're in substantially different time zones on the same team. You can have teams in different time zones, but if your kind of core engineering team has half your people in the US and you're trying to save some money and so the other half's in Europe or Asia, those big time zone differences are really difficult because it makes it really difficult for people to properly check off or check out at the end of the day. It makes it really difficult to share updates. It makes it really difficult to schedule meetings. I think that's the one thing that's really hard to overcome, even with a really well-run team or a good leader.
I think that really is such an important point in terms of that time difference. When things kind of go, when we're chatting to, Americans or Australians, it throws everyone into a sort of a different thing. So we're always grateful for people who can pop on at ungodly hours like 7 a.m. to give profound insight. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, and I wanted to jump into a little bit about what Alex was saying there. Obviously, the tools haven't really caught up, and the one that is obviously always at the forefront is emails. It's the oldest steadfast, but nothing is really developed in there. And I know that things like Slack and Teams have sort of picked up the slack, pun intended, around the stuff that emails have done, but that's sort of sit there too. And I was thinking, and this is another thing that's like a bit off topic, but for the thing that Sakina was saying about like virtual coffee chats too, I used to be really skeptical about them because my background's originally in filmmaking, and I'm relatively new in terms of the world of remote work still, and where you can't really take the location home, can you? But the thing that really that dragged me down originally about the sort of virtual coffee chats that I didn't really like was like the idea of sort of organized fun.
You shouldn't underestimate the importance of those water cooler chats and those sort of
I
moments.
was just going to say that,
Yeah.
when I started working remotely completely, the water cooler chat was what I really missed. It's like, where is that now? But, honestly, Slack does a very good job, not of the water cooler chat, but keeping the teams aligned. And I feel like, well, for me, Slack is a curse as well as a blessing because sometimes you can be overwhelmed, like, being added to so many groups and keeping up with so many. Initially, I had to spend an hour every day just catching up on all the conversations that were going on. And then, I was like, this is not sustainable. And you just need to make sure that you're using these tools as for your benefit, rather than like being inundated and like, being expected to keep on top of everything. So you need to have a really, really disciplined approach to any of these like collaboration tools that are out there in the market.
Yeah, and especially when you're catching up, it's not talking, it's reading.
Yeah. Honestly, you lose track, and then, your managers or your teammates like, yeah, I put it in Slack. You didn't read it? And I'm like, no, if it's important, you tell me, right?
Yeah.